All right, in this video, one last possible solution here. This one is going to be very straightforward at the end of the day. Doesn't require anything fancy. It just requires us to create a couple of different tables. That's it. So this is definitely the most straightforward solution in my opinion. We might have a table of users, and then for each type of like or each thing that we want to allow a user to like, we'll just create a different table. So we might create posts likes and comments likes. So post likes allows a user to express a like on a post. The second one allows a user to express a like on a comment. That's it. Nothing magic. We would treat user ID, post ID, user ID, and comment ID all as foreign key columns. So once again, we get that guarantee of some data integrity. That's pretty much it. So this is definitely the most straightforward solution, but there is a very clear and obvious downside. Just like the last solution, if we end up wanting to allow a user to like many different kinds of things, we would end up having to create many different kinds of tables. But there is possibly an upside to that. It does allow us to create some different check constraints or validation rules for each different kind of like. So if you ever want to allow a user to like different things, but there's some very small variations in each of those likes, or maybe a good possibility here is if we want to allow a user to like a post and also put in some kind of like reaction type to it, but we only want to allow a post to have a reaction type and maybe comments can only be liked, this would also be a pretty good solution. Technically, we could use those others as well, but this would be a decent solution to it because we would isolate all that kind of reaction logic to just this one table. Now, the one downside to this is that if you ever want to write a query where you're going to somehow aggregate all the different kinds of likes inside the application, well, on the previous two solutions, we had just the one table of likes. So if we ever wanted to run a query over all possible things you can like, then this was a good solution. A little bit harder with this kind of approach where we've got the different tables, but it still can be done by using a union. Remember, that was one of those set keywords we took a look at. And we could also create something called a view. We haven't spoken about views yet. That's something that we're going to cover with this Instagram application really quickly. I just want to mention this would be one possible way of solving that. So we still can write a query that takes a look at all possible different kinds of likes. Totally possible. We just have to be a little bit cleverer in it. Okay, so that's 3 possible solutions. I apologize if it's been way more information than you ever wanted to know, but trust me, it turns out that this entire idea of allowing a user to have a relation that is very similar in nature to many different kinds of resources is something that actually comes up really, really frequently. So frequently, as a matter of fact, that we're actually going to see 2 other types of resources inside this Instagram app that we're working on right now that is going to fall into this very identical scenario, where we're going to have one kind of thing that gets related to multiple other types of things, and we need to figure out how to model that relationship in the middle. Should we make multiple tables, one table with many different columns, or this polymorphic association kind of deal? Okay, so now that we've got a good background on this, we can tackle those other 2 scenarios in the future as well, and we'll be able to breeze right through them. Let's take a pause right here. In the next video, we're going to make a decision on which of these like systems we're going to use, and then we'll go back to diagramming that over on dbdiagram.io.